Hello again. As you know, I am Eli, the computer guy, and today we're going to be talking about mSATA solid state drives. So this is I don't know if it's new. It's a newer type of drive that is available for computers, servers, appliances, and all that kind of stuff that I do not think IT professionals are taking a close enough look at. Because basically, this is one of those types of drives that isn't the normal form factor. It's not a big hard drive, it's not a laptop hard drive. It's this smaller, like teeny tiny drive form factor. So a lot of people don't even think about it, even when they're going out and they're building custom devices or custom computers or custom servers. And I think that is a real shame because these are pretty nifty neat, very fast, and with the size available on these things today, you can even build servers based off these things, and it's really pretty cool. So Plex Store actually sent me one of their 128 gig versions of the mSATA drive, and I've been able to play with it and test it. I've also been using mSATA drives in my little nuke that I have, and again, like I say, these are pretty cool things. So one of the things you have to think about whenever you're going to be building a computer or device is that the size of that computer or device is going to be determined by the types of components that you put into it. So if you have to put a big cooling fan into it, you're going to have to use a large case. If you're going to use large sized hard drives, you're going to have to use a large case. But if you can start using components as small as this, then you start to be able to create very small computers and put them into a little more interesting places. So let's go over to my demo table so I can kind of show you what's going on with this mSATA drive and kind of explain to you why this thing is so cool. So this is the mSATA drive, right? So it is literally this big. It's called the mini SATA standard, and this uses the same standards as SATA drives. It just has a different form factor for the connectors. So the underlying way that data is sent and received to this thing is using the normal SATA protocols. They just have a different connector here so that you'll slot it in differently. So basically this is just considered a different standard of SATA. So this particular one then is SATA 3. So with the mSATA drives, you can have SATA 1, SATA 2, SATA 3, just like with the normal drives. Again, the only difference is this interface here. So the thing is once you start getting a drive that is this small, then you get to do things such as build computers that is this small. So this is the nuke that I have, and as you can see, I mean, this is a full-size computer that is literally smaller than my hand. This has an i5 processor in it. And basically, if I crack this thing open, I have to be careful because it's actually on right now, but if I crack this thing open, you can take a look inside. You can see the laptop-sized RAM, and then this is how mSATA drives get connected into either computers or devices. So basically you have a slot that looks a whole bunch like a memory slot, and all you do is you slide this thing in, you push it down, and then you put the screw in, and that connects it. So you're looking at this thing and you're probably going, okay, well, that's nice, right? But whenever you're dealing with computers and you're dealing with size, normally what happens is that the smaller something gets, the worse performance you get on this. So if this is smaller than a laptop hard drive, you're thinking it is going to have much worse performance. Well, the cool thing is, since this uses the SATA 3 standard and it's a solid state drive, we go over here, I actually have live running. This is the Blackmagic drive speed test, and you can see the speed that this Plex Store is actually getting. So it gets a 299 megabyte per second write speed and a 476 megabyte per second read speed. So this blows the hell blows out of the water 5,400 RPM drives, blows the hell out of 7,200 RPM drives, 10,000 RPM drives, and even, to be honest with you, a lot of the solid state drives out there that I've seen and actually tested with this Blackmagic speed test. I guess with the bus or whatever on this little nuke, it really helps out. So just because this thing is really tiny small doesn't mean you get any worse performance on it. So I want to show you that. So this becomes really important as you start thinking about technology in the modern world. Again, the thing that you have to think about with technology in the modern world is that, 10 years ago, we were trying to figure out how to get every person a computer, right? How do we get every child a computer? How do we get every man, woman a computer? Now what we're looking at is how can we have a computer for everything that needs a computer? So your car is a computer, your refrigerator might be a computer, all these different things. You can have, security systems that are computers. So now instead of a person having a single computer, one person may have 10 computers or 20 computers. So now I think the average person has 4 computers in the United States, and the idea is in another 10 years, the average person will have something like 20 computers that they'll own. Well, having something like this little mSATA drives allows that to happen because you can do things like you can create computers the size of the nuke. You can also do interesting things with other devices. So this is my Drobo, right? So this Drobo here has 5 normal hard drives in it. And so basically what this is this is a disk storage unit. It turns all 5 of those drives in here into one logical drive. The issue is with this thing is that the performance for these drives can be pretty slow because basically it turns it into all these drives into a quasi-RAID. Then all that data has to be transmitted over a Thunderbolt connection, and so the performance may not always be as good as you want. Well, the cool thing with this little guy is if you look down here, it has a little door on it. And what you can do is you can actually slot in an mSATA drive into this Drobo, and it acts as an internal cache. So again, if you have platter drives are much slower than solid state drives. When you tie multiple platter drives together, the performance can be, it can be a little wonky. So what you do is you can use one of these mSATA drives as a cache on this device so that the files that are used most often go into the cache. So that gives you the high performance, but then you also have the reliability of the platter drives in here. So these are some of the interesting things that you can do with these mSATA drives. So you can do things like you can create really small computers. You can create really small network appliances if you're going to use those. You can put these into other bigger devices for things like as a caching mechanism. So that is why these things are pretty nifty neat. And again, like I say, as you can see here, 274 megabytes per second write speed, 471 megabytes per second read speed. That is more performance than you need for almost anything other than real video editing. Now, if we go over to the computer, I can kind of show you a little bit what's going on with these and show you what the price points are. So the drive that Plextor sent me is this 128 gig version, and what you can see is that this is only $83 or $84, right, for something with that kind of performance. One of the things, again, that you have to be thinking about when you're going to be speccing out computers, when you're going to be putting these into the real world, the question is what do your clients actually need? Do your clients really need a 4 terabyte hard drive in their computer, or do they need a much smaller hard drive that is more energy efficient, that is a lot smaller, and gives them a crap ton more performance, right? Most people, I would argue, actually 128 gig hard drive or a drive in an office environment is more than enough, right? Because they're not doing video editing. They shouldn't be downloading iTunes videos. If you give them a lot of performance, that's not a bad deal. And again, like I say, when it comes in and now at that $84 price point, what's kind of cool is then you can go up and you can look at these larger ones. So Plextor also has a 512 gig of this mSATA drive. Comes in about $289. And now that's obviously more expensive, but when you start looking at 512 gigs in size, that's when you can start doing things like building servers. So let's say you have a small office environment and you want to build build a server for them. You know, maybe someplace they can do a little bit of file sharing, maybe an email server, you know, put some kind of, you know, server system in that's only going to support, like I say, about 10 users. You give them 512 gigs of storage, and that's going to be more than enough, especially with the performance. Then if you go up, Samsung actually has these 1 terabyte mSATA drives. Again, they're a lot more expensive, $462, but think about being able to put a server in something the size of the Nuke. I mean, again, this little guy here, you can have this as an i7 processor. I think you can put up to 16 gigs of RAM into one of these things. And then you put a 1 terabyte storage in here. And I mean, man, I'm not gonna crap you. That is more powerful than most of the servers that I was installing back in 2008, right? In a box this size. So imagine when you can go into an office environment and give them a full-fledged server in a box this size. With a box this size, you don't have to worry about server rooms, right? If you want to keep this thing secure, you can have a little cabinet and simply lock it in the cabinet, or you can strap it to the wall. You don't have to worry about server rooms, you don't have to worry about racks, you don't have to worry about all kinds of stuff, right? And that will give you more than enough performance and more than enough storage. So that's why these little mSATA drives, mSATA drives are really, really, really cool. And again, like I say, I think these are the future where everything's going. Because the fact that you can get a 1 terabyte one of these things now, it just, I mean, that shows you where we're at. And again, as I'll say, most people don't even need 128 gigs of storage. What they need is something that is very fast, that is small, and that is energy efficient. And this basically fits the bill. And like I say, the speeds that I'm getting off of this thing, the only thing that this little guy isn't good for is, you know, 1080p live video encoding. If you're doing Outlook or Exchange or even creating a surveillance server or anything like that, this is more than enough. So yeah, so that's kind of cool. Like I said, this little guy. Oh, the future is cool. The future is very cool. So mSATA drives, if you see them, this is what we're talking about. Definitely cool, definitely neat, definitely, you know, they're rock solid and inexpensive. Now, the one thing that I will remind you though is that this uses a different hard drive interface. So don't think you can take this and shove this into a normal laptop or take this and shove this into a normal desktop computer. This interface does not connect with normal SATA interfaces, so just keep that in mind. NerdsWeCanFixThat.com. If you're thinking about starting your own computer services company, but you don't want to have to worry about coming up with a logo and copyright and trademark and all of those kinds of things, you may think about buying into a computer services franchise system. Nerds We Can Fix That is a computer services franchise system. They have 62 franchises throughout the United States. They can franchise in every state other than Hawaii. They also franchise internationally. If you're thinking about starting your own computer services company, you should contact them, fill out the information below, or give them a call. Again, as I will say, franchise systems are great for a lot of people, not so good for others. Always make sure to do your due diligence, but if you're thinking about starting a computer services company anyway, you might as well contact Nerds We Can Fix That to see what they have to say. Spiceworks.com. These guys have the free network management software, the free mobile device management software, the free community with millions of users. So if you're an IT professional and you need support, Spiceworks is a great place to go. All of their stuff is basically free and just an absolutely great thing. Again, if you have any questions that I don't answer in the show that are technical in nature, you know, we're talking about Active Directory synchronization between sites in remote areas. If you click on the link below this video, that will take you to the Spiceworks community. They have millions of users there that will be able to help you out. So take a look at spiceworks.com. Veeam.com, Veeam.com. If you just virtualized 100 servers and now you're trying to figure out how to back them up, they have solutions for ESXi, they have solutions for Hyper-V, and as you guys like, they have free stuff. So if you are dealing with a virtualized environment and you're trying to figure out a backup solution, take a look at Veeam.com. Altaro.com, Altaro.com, if you're dealing with virtualization in a Hyper-V environment. So we're talking about Windows Server 2008 R2, 2012, and 2012 R2. Take a look at Altaro.com. They have a number of Hyper-V backup solutions. They have the free version, which will back up to 2 VMs for free forever. They also have the unlimited version, starting at only $400 per host. I think this is a very good value. So if you are dealing with Hyper-V virtualization and you need a backup solution, take a look at Altaro.com. Adaxes.com, if you're dealing with Active Directory on a large scale, so you have hundreds of users to add, hundreds of users to disable, so on and so forth, you may want to take a look at Adaxes.com. This is Active Directory management and automation software, so this tries to automate and simplify the Active Directory workflow. So if you are in a large scale Active Directory infrastructure, take a look at Adaxes.com. Plixer.com. Plixer deals with NetFlow analytics software. So NetFlow is a component of Cisco equipment that shows you what's going on at the network layer, what devices are talking to what other devices, what kind of network jitter, all of that kind of stuff. So Plixer has a free piece of software called Scrutinizer. Scrutinizer is a free NetFlow network traffic analysis tool. So if you want to play around with NetFlow, if you want to see what's going on with the network layer and you have Cisco equipment, take a look at Plixer.com. Click on the link below this video. It'll bring you to this page where you can download Scrutinizer, the free NetFlow network traffic analysis tool. SchooleyMitchell.com. If you're trying to find better internet or telephone service, or if you're trying to find less expensive internet or telephone service, give Schooley Mitchell a call. Basically what these guys are telecom consultants. You call them, you say what you need for yourself or your client, and they figure out the best option. They'll examine your existing services and review your bills to make sure there are no errors. Then they'll keep an eye on your services moving forward so that everything remains optimized. Because Schooley Mitchell is objective and independent, they have no ties to vendors. You know they are always your best interests in mind. The best part is there is no fee for their services. The only cost is a portion of the shared savings over a set period of time. If they don't find savings, there is no cost to you. Schooley Mitchell. Is managing users and computers on Active Directory too cumbersome? Download SolarWinds' terrific trio of free Active Directory admin tools today and start saving time on those Active Directory management tasks. These free tools help you manage and remove computers and users from Active Directory and allow you to add users in bulk. The free tools include Inactive User Account Removal Tool, enables you to scan Active Directory and optionally remove users who have not logged in for a certain amount of time. Inactive Computer Account Removal Tool enables you to scan Active Directory and optionally remove computers that are over a certain number of days old. And User Import Tool saves time by giving you the ability to create users in bulk using a CSV file. You can even specify the attributes. Also be sure to check out SolarWinds community page, thwack.com, to connect with more than 100,000 IT professionals. So take a look at solarwinds.com for their free and other tools. So the hands-on review today is the LoomSing USB travel wall charger. So this is one of those little useful things in the modern world for if you need to charge multiple USB devices. So you know, most of us nowadays, back in the old days, back 4 years ago, the only things we had to charge up using a USB connection was like maybe our phone, you know, maybe a phone, maybe an iPod, that was it. Nowadays, you know, I know when I travel, I need to charge my iPhone, I need to charge my iPad, I need to charge, you know, possibly my smartwatch. There's all these devices that I have to use that need to be charged, and they all get charged using a USB connection. The issue is when you go to the hotel at the end of the day, you know, you have to have, you know, 4 different adapters to plug in all of your different devices, and it's a real pain in the butt. Basically what this LoomSing travel charger does is it gives you 4 connections in one wall charger, so that you can just plug this into the wall, connect in your 4 devices, and away you go. So let's go over to the demo table just so I can kind of show you what's going on with this thing. You know, there's really not much to it. Basically what it looks like is it looks like a little wall charger adapter that's just about double the size. So this is about, not even double the size, probably about 50% bigger than a normal charger for an iPad or an iPhone. And basically all you do is you flip this out in the back, you're able to plug it in, and then from there you have 4 ports so you can plug into four devices. So you can put in, you know, 2 iPads, an iPhone, an Android device, whatever you have going on. I mean, there's not really a whole lot to say about it. It's a nice little device. It is built well. You know, it feels solid. This feels about the same quality as an Apple unit that you would buy. It doesn't feel cheap. It has a nice coating on it. It has a nice pretty color, of course, orange, my favorite color. So overall, it is a good thing. If we go over to the computer, I can just show you. If you're interested in this, all you have to do is you go to Lumsing, LUMSING.com. You go to products, you go down to chargers, and when you go there, you can go and find this thing. This will give you all the information. So, you know, it's a 4-port, 5-volt, 4.2 amp USB wall charger. If you go over to Amazon.com, you can see that it's currently $18 with free shipping. So I think that's a good price there. So overall, I think it's a good little thing. You know, I've talked about you know, these types of chargers in the past and why they are useful. This is nice because it doesn't have any kind of additional power adapter to it. It doesn't have additional cables you have to worry about. You just take this, you plug it into the wall, you plug your USB devices into this, and away you go. At $18, I have to say, it seems like a good deal. And like I say, it's built well. It has a nice good covering on it that doesn't scratch. It feels solid. It feels like a good little device here. So I would give a Lumsing a thumbs up, and definitely seems like a good USB wall charger. So this question comes from Ram K, and I actually answered a question from him a couple of episodes ago, and so he heard my response to his question, and then he had a follow-up question, right? So if you guys remember this guy, Ram K, basically this is the guy that has 10.6 years of experience in IT. He's basically more or less been on the help desk the entire time, and he said, how do I break into doing, you know, things that are more complicated, you know, Active Directory and such, and when I go for interviews, how do I explain to employers why I haven't done anything more impressive with my life? Because again, if you spend 2 years on the help desk, nobody's gonna blink at it, right? You spent 2 years on the help desk. Everybody spends 2 years on the help desk. Not me, but most people spend 2 years on the help desk, right? If you spend 5 years on the help desk, people are gonna scratch their head, but you know, it's been a crazy job market over the last few years, and so as long as you seem pretty good, they're gonna shrug your shoulders and you're gonna go on with it. If you spend 10.6 years on the help desk, people are just gonna look at you funny. They're just gonna be like, yeah, that something smells fishy there. Something isn't good. Either you're not competent enough to do anything beyond the help desk, or you're not motivated enough to do anything beyond the help desk. Either of those two things is not somebody that, you know, anybody wants to hire. So basically, he listened to that, and he wanted to follow up with the question. And so he said, I got to mention that I am in India. And this is an important thing. One thing to realize whenever I'm giving you guys advice about careers, business, professions, all that kind of stuff, is this is actually a geographic thing, right? I am in the United States. More specifically, I'm in the Baltimore, Maryland area of the United States. So when I answer questions about your career or business or any of that, it is colored by that. Not so much about Baltimore and Maryland. There's a little shade because of Baltimore and Maryland, but more specifically because of the United States. Again, the United States, again, our healthcare system may suck donkey balls. Our education system might be ass poor. There's a lot of not so great things about the United States. The one thing that it's really easy in the United States, though, is to start a business and make a crap ton of money. That's why a lot of people come here barely knowing how to speak the language, and then they're able to make lots and lots of money. Because if you put your nose to the grindstone, you can do it. So that's one of the things I do have to caveat whenever I'm answering questions, especially for somebody like in India, is in the United States, it's just simply a lot easier. I mean, you talk with Indians that come to the United States, and it's just easier to get ahead. Again, I have my buddy who is my best man at my wedding, and one of the things that he says is he wants to retire in India. Again, family life is better in India, community is better in India. There are a lot of things that are better in India, but there is no way in hell he wants to actually work on the Indian economy. just how it is, right? So just do keep that in mind. So yes, you are right. I was not internally motivated for a long time because I was just doing my job and coming back home. Also, I don't have a technical schooling degree. But from the time I am motivated, which is about 2 years ago. So about 2 years ago, he got his mCITP in Server 2008, which is Active Directory. So I have been playing around with Server, Active Directory, etc. With a lot of passion, have gone through a lot of your videos, but the question remains the same. Employers are still asking me the question, what are you good at? The question is, where do I begin to build up a career in IT from here? I agree that I had wasted many years by just sitting and troubleshooting, but that's not what I want to be doing all my life. Right now, from the last 2 years, I am internally motivated thanks to you and your videos, and I want to know how to approach a better job from here. So this is a huge question. Whether you have 10.6 years experience or whether you have 0.6 years experience, the biggest problem that comes up is when you go and you're sitting down at an interview, the question that you're going to be presented with, and I know this question because I remember 20 years ago being hit with this question, is what do you want to do? Right? So an employer puts out an ad that they want to hire somebody, help desk position, junior systems admin, NOC, Network Operations Center, something like that. You apply for that job, then you're sitting in front of them, right? And so the employer says, yes, I know what this job is. I know this job is Active Directory or this or that or the other thing, but what do you want to do in life? Where do you see yourself going? And the answer to that question you should never give, because I gave it and I saw the results, is you never want to say computers. Right? And I see a lot of you guys do it. And one of the reasons I laugh at you guys so much is because I did it, right? I remember I was sitting in this startup company. It was a really cool startup company. And they had all the bells and whistles, and it was wonderful. It was also in Baltimore at the time. And I had half my MCSE, and I was like, I just want to be a computer geek. This is what I want to do. And I sat down with the guy, and he said, okay, well, this particular job is support or whatever. But what do you want to do in technology? And I looked at him and said, computers. And then you could just see his entire face fall as he realized I was a complete and utter idiot. He was like, wow, you don't even know enough about this field to say what you want to do. So what I would argue is that you really figure out what you want to do in this field, in the technology field, by going out and doing things. Going out and working on networking equipment, or going out and working on Active Directory, or going out and building websites, all that kind of stuff. So it's this one of these things. It's the whole chicken and egg issue. Is you figure out what you want to do by doing. But in order to do, you have to figure out what you want to do. So the question is, how do you fix that, right? And so this is why I argue that you guys should go out and you should start trying to deal with nonprofit organizations, churches, or if you're in India, temples. Basically, any organization that will take you on and allow you to do anything technical. Don't worry about the money. Don't worry about the position. Don't worry about any of that kind of stuff, right? Just worry about what technology they will allow you to use. So again, here in the United States, this is one thing I can say with Baltimore. Baltimore is a failed city, right? Baltimore really is. Baltimore is a failed city. It has been losing population every year for 50 years, other than 2 years, right? Failed city. Well, the good thing about failed cities, right, is you have a lot of poor people, you have a lot of poverty, you have a lot of violence, you have a lot of this nasty stuff. And you're looking at me and you're going, Eli, what the hell's wrong with you? Why are you saying that's a good thing? Why that's a good thing is here in the United States is when you have violence and when you have poverty and when you have piss poor education and when you have horrible hygiene and when you have all these things, right? Nonprofits, church groups, all these social services flood in to try to help the population, right? Well, the problem is these people have far more good intentions than they do money. So they don't have the money to pay you, but a lot of times they have good equipment. So I had clients, or I would do pro bono work for some of these nonprofits in the Baltimore area. They had Cisco switches and routers. They had Dell and IBM when they made them servers. They had HP laser printers. They had enterprise quality equipment with zero, I'm not even joking. I am not even joking. Zero budget for repair. So if you go in there and you say, hey, I have 10.6 years experience on the help desk with my mCITP, they will let you work on all their equipment, right? Because they don't have any money. Hey, will you take $2 an hour or $1 an hour or whatever? You go in there, you get the experience working on the equipment, you figure out what you like to do, and then when you're sitting in front of that potential employer, you can say, well, you know, honestly, doing all the work that I've done, I really prefer systems admin work. You know, I want to do the whole Microsoft thing. Or you might sit in front of them and go, you know, I have a lot of experience with Active Directory now and Microsoft servers, and so I'm fully prepared to do that with you. But really, if you look at the future of where things are going, I believe everything is going to be Linux based. So in 5 years, I really expect that I will be a Linux system administrator. It would be awesome if while I'm with your company, I can help you on the migration path there, right? So that's what you have to do is in order to answer the question, what are you good at? You have to in fact figure out what you're good at. The way you do that is by getting experience. Again, if jobs won't give it for you, nonprofits, churches, temples, all that kind of stuff is where you would go. And that's what I would say. Again, it's experience, 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 experience. So get experience. And that would be my thought. So this question comes from Jim D. I have a question for you about YouTube video length. I have noticed that you like to make videos that are around 30 minutes in length, and as you said recently, this makes it more acceptable to put all of those shout-out advertisements in the middle of them, so it only uses a small percentage of the entire video's length. I was inspired by your tutorials on YouTube to begin offering some tutorials of my own about a language called MQL4. I have videos that range from a few minutes to an hour. Is the name of the YouTube game to get as many separate views as possible, question mark, or does the number of minutes watched play into generating revenue as well? I have no trouble getting people to watch my tutorials for 30 minutes at a time, so that is not an issue. My question is, would it be smarter to split my videos into two separate 15-minute videos, part A and B, instead of putting all of the tutorial in one video? So that is a big question that comes up, especially in the YouTube world. Do you do long videos or do you do short videos? And a lot of people scream at me and yell at me and say, Eli, you're a dummy head because your videos are too long. And then I look at the direct deposit that Google drops into my bank account every month and I go, yeah, I like my long videos. But this is a big question, right? So do you do short videos or do you do long videos? Well, the important thing to realize, and this is one thing that a lot of people don't realize when we start talking about YouTube monetization, is that you get paid not just by the number of views, but you also get paid an amount per view. So it's not just that you get paid for 100,000 views, but you get paid $2 CPM or $10 CPM or $50 CPM. So the amount you get paid per 1,000 views can be different. It's one of the reasons that I am more financially successful than a lot of the YouTubers out there that have a lot more views and a lot more subscribers than I do. And the reason is I talk about Intel and I talk about Cisco and I talk about mSATA drives and servers and I talk about all that kind of stuff where the companies like Intel and Cisco and Juniper, they're willing to pay more to be on my content than they are other people's content. So although I get fewer views in total, I earn more money, right? Well, how YouTube figures that kind of thing out is they look at the quality of your video. So basically not just the content, so how it matches what the advertisers are looking for, but things like audience retention. So with me, I do 30 to 45 minute videos and my average view time, so I get about 35 to 40,000 views per day, but the average view time per view is over 9 minutes in length compared to most other people's videos are like 5 minutes total, right? So when YouTube looks at the quality of my video, it is much higher than other people's. And so therefore I earn more CPM. So although I get fewer views than they do, I earn higher CPM, which means, again, what gets dumped into my bank account is very nice. The main thing that I would argue whenever you're going to be doing YouTube content, is everybody has this idea of gaming the system or hacking the system. You know, everybody wants to be a hacker, a growth hacker, a hack this, a hack that, a hack the other thing. I would argue don't worry about any of that kind of stuff. When I created my videos originally, I created them the length that they are because I determined that was a good length. If I was going to teach you a class on something, a class requires 30 to 90 minutes to go through everything. I could not do an entire class in 5 minutes. So I didn't want to do little short 5-minute videos. I wanted to do classes. Classes require that I do 30 to 90-minute videos, and therefore that is what I did. The video length fit what I wanted to create. So what you have to think about when you're doing your tutorials is don't worry, frankly, don't worry about the CPMs, and frankly, don't worry about the views, and don't worry about all that. Think about what you are trying to accomplish with your videos and then match the length of your video to what you are trying to accomplish. So right now my videos are different than they used to be. You know, they used to be 30 to 90-minute classes. Now they're more of this whole episodic thing. Well, there is a point to how I have created these episodes. One, they do have to be over 30 minutes in length, just so the shout outs for the sponsors make sense. You know, if I had 3 minutes of shout outs for sponsors in a 10-minute video, that would suck donkey balls. Let's be honest, right? So if I'm going to have 3 minutes of shout outs on videos, it needs to be about 30 minutes long so that it's proportional. So the first thing that I think about when I create my content is it has to be at least 30 minutes and long, because I need those shout outs in the middle to be a very small percentage of the overall video so it doesn't piss people off. So then I have to think, okay, so if I got at least 30 minutes, how am I going to take up the 30 minutes? Well, I want to create content that is going to be what is called evergreen content. Evergreen content means it will last a long time. If I talk about something topical, something that happened this week in technology, that may get a lot of views now, but in a year nobody's going to care about. So that's why I want to do, like the video today, talk about mSATA hard drives, or I want to talk about technologies that will be around for 4 or 5 years so that it will be relevant. So that's why I have the 10 to 15 minute, educational video block in the beginning of my episode, and that is the evergreen content. That is the content that will bring in the professionals that really care about this stuff, and they'll go, oh, that's why we use mSATA drives, or that's why we use iSCSI, or that's why we do this, or that's why we do other things. Then, of course, we have the shout outs, we have the sponsors, because they're the ones that make money. And so I put that right after the educational component, so that hopefully if people stick around, they'll see those shout outs. Then after that, one of the things that I have to think about is how do I stay relevant to all the manufacturers and vendors in the technology world, right? The better relationship I have with vendors, the more cool stuff I get, right? Today, doing the class on the mSATA drive, one of the reasons I was able to do that class is because Plexstore sent me an mSATA drive. They just said, here's an mSATA drive, go do a video on it, right? So I have to have something that creates that relationship with vendors. And so that's why after the sponsorship block, I do the hands-on review, because then I can show you guys stuff that I think is pretty cool and I think is pretty useful. But then that also gives me an entree, that gives me an entrance to be able to talk to vendors, to get products, and to be able to, communicate with them. Then after that, I do the section on question and answer, because you guys like the interactive stuff. You guys like these random questions where I answer how I think I should answer, and so that's why I put that in there. And then I do the final thoughts, and the final thoughts are kind of like one of those, they're kind of topical, but they kind of try to round out everything and give you an idea of how the professional world works, because again, that is something that I really want my personal brand to be, is I am not just showing you a Galaxy S4 and telling you the specifications, or I'm not showing you iSCSI and just simply explaining how it works. I want to explain to you guys, how do you make money off this stuff? How do you promote yourself? How do you get ahead in the world? And so what I'm explaining there is, so my episode and the time of the episode corresponds to what I am trying to accomplish. So the form should match the function, right? So that's what you have to figure out. Again, I have created my episodes based on 5 years of doing this, and so they come out to a certain length and a certain way of doing things. You have to figure out what works for you and go from there. So as far as short videos versus long videos, It all depends what you're trying to accomplish in life. Again, my vlogs are between 3 to 6 minutes long because that's what you expect out of a vlog. My episodes are 30 to 45 minutes long because that's what you expect out of an episode. So the final thoughts for today is I want to talk about vacations and why vacations are very exceedingly important for professionals and especially for small business owners. So I recently did a video where I was talking about possibly having to cancel vacation because of financial reasons due to Microsoft screwing with me. And I got a lot of people, kind of saying, "Oh, Eli, if the worst thing that you're complaining about is having to cancel vacation, you just don't understand the real world. You have too much money and you've lost sight of all the starving people out there in the world." And it was one of those kinds of responses where I sat there and I scratched my head and I realized, oh wow, I'm really not dealing with professional people, because professional people know how important vacations are to professionals. And if you want to be a professional, you have to realize how important vacations are going to be to you. To be at all honest with you guys, truly in my heart of hearts, if I was president of the USA, of the United States of America, I would make it a priority to give all poor people, all people, a 2-week vacation every year at an absolute and utter minimum. I actually think vacations are not just good for your health, not just good for your mental well-being, but actually good for your economic output. Vacations are as much a requirement to human beings as pooping. Right? If you were told that when you went to a job you would not be allowed to poop while you were on the job, you would find that to be absolutely ridiculous. And yet going on a vacation, for some reason, that seems like something only fancy dancy people do, right? So I want to talk about that a little bit because I just went on a vacation because things have been pretty stressful, and my wife basically dragged me off to Tampa for a few days to get into the sun for a little bit, to watch hammerhead sharks swim around their bay and dolphins and eat good food and all that kind of stuff. And that was actually very useful to me as a professional. So what you have to realize is, as a professional, the number one danger that you have to that you have to worry about running into is something called tunnel vision, right? So tunnel vision happens when you become so focused on whatever target or goal you're trying to go after that you don't see anything else, right? You just get focused on that goal. The problem is, in the modern world, is that goals should change. The world changes. So what you're going for today is not necessarily what you should be going for tomorrow, which is not necessarily what you should be doing the next day or the next day or the next day or the next day. With most of our careers, it's not that they should be evolving every 3 years or every 2 years or every 1 year. I would argue that as professionals, our careers should be evolving approximately every 3 months. So every quarter of a year increment, you should look at what you are doing now and look back at what you did 3 months ago, and there should be recognizable changes. Not fundamental changes. It's not like you should go from being an accountant to a lawyer, or from a lawyer to a doctor, or something like that, but you should look at how you're doing things and remember way back when, to 3 months ago, when you did things just slightly differently in inefficient ways, right? And so the problem is as professionals, we get very, very focused on what we're doing. We get there, we start diving into problems. We get very tunnel visioned in those problems. And the problem with getting tunnel visioned in the problems is sometimes the problems that you need to be dealing with are not actually the problems you're working on. So you start focusing at solving one problem, and then something comes out of left field that is much more dangerous to you. But you're so focused on this one problem, you keep focusing on the problem that's no longer actually relevant, and then the tidal wave hits you and everybody drowns, right? So what you have to realize is you focus on this one problem, you start getting tunnel vision on this problem. And then what happens in the real world, right? Because everybody thinks, when you're a professional or a business owner, like your life somehow is only your profession or only your business. You know, I am a computer consultant, and so the only thing I have to worry about is whether Windows 10 is worth a darn or whether I should migrate to Yosemite OS X. That's the only problem in my life, right? Which is a bunch of crap, I know, because what I do. So, you know, I'm sitting here, you know, working on things like YouTube videos, working on all these technical problems, and there's all these technical issues surrounding this. So I have YouTube monetization, and I have to worry about sponsors, and I have to worry about the whole crap with microstopped, and I have to worry about getting in new products. I have all these things that revolve around YouTube. But then beyond that, there's things like I had to have construction done to the house, so that adds to my stress load. Then my wife has continued to have, you know, severe health problems, so that adds to my stress load. So the issue is you get focused on one problem, then as more and more stress gets on top of you, you focus on that problem harder. You get a laser-like focus on that problem. And then the issue is, like I say, the more focused you become on any one single problem, the less you see all of the other problems. And how you're really successful as a professional and a business owner is being able to jump from problem to problem to problem. How you are successful is not simply by solving the problems, but by solving the appropriate problems. This is one of those things I smack you guys on the nose about all the time. You know, people are worried about simply solving problems, and it's not simply solving problems, a problem, it's solving the appropriate problem. So if you get laser focused on one thing, then you don't see problems that are more appropriate for you to deal with, and then you come into all those kind of problems. So why vacations are good is because vacations get you out of what you are doing. They get you out of the mindset. You leave your house. Again, like I say, I've been dealing with a lot of construction on the house. My contractors idiots. Oh my God. I mean, there's just so much stress. And so the problem is, right, every day I wake up, I walk out and I see the construction project. And as soon as I see the construction project, I'm already in that stressful mindset. And then beyond that, there's this and that and the other thing. And all of a sudden you kind of get yourself into this little ball of stress and you get focused on problems. And so what vacations do is they pull you out of that environment. They put you in an entirely new environment, and then your brain can relax. Instead of being in a mindset of being reactive to everything, how am I going to deal with construction problems today? How am I going to deal with my wife's health problems today? How am I going to deal with YouTube today? How am I going to deal with Microsoft today? How am I going to deal with this? How am I going to do with it? You get pulled out of that environment, and then you don't see the house. And your wife's acting all nice because we're on vacation. And YouTube, you're on a little bit of vacation. So when you're on vacation, you don't worry so much about money and all that. And your brain can relax a bit. And you can see the world from a different viewpoint. The world that you see from a proactive point of view is entirely different than the world that you see from a reactive point of view. And where the money is in the world, where you find the value, is looking at that world from that proactive point of view. Looking at the world and looking for what are the appropriate problems to solve. You know, when you're in that reactive mode, all you're worried about is solving the problem. I need to solve the problem, even if it's not the right problem, right? When you get away, when you go to a vacation, you can look at what's going on with your life and you can realize what are the best problems to solve, and then go from there to be more successful. So one of the things that I found, again, you know, I tried to tell you guys the real world, the professional world, and what you guys really should realize is that real professionals, real high-powered professionals, basically, even if they don't want to take vacations, many times are forced to take vacations by either their loved ones or their companies, so on and so forth. Not because, you know, just because you're high-powered, you should be able to go to the beach and sun yourself and watch sharks swim around, but because by leaving the environment you're in, it allows your brain to relax so that you can reassess what you're doing and make sure that you're actually doing the appropriate thing. This is one of the sad things that I see. Again, like I said, I was poor at one point, and it's what really sucks, right? You know, with poor people, one of the biggest problems is that they never get to reassess their situation. They wake up in the morning, they go to a crap job, they come back to a crap environment, there's stress, and since they're poor, they probably don't get vacation time. They may get a little bit of vacation time. Even if they do get vacation time, they don't have enough money to go anywhere. And so all they're doing, they're entirely in a reactive cycle where all they're worried about is, how am I going to pay the rent this month? How am I going to eat? How am I going to do that? And so they don't see where other solutions may be. I am in a piss poor, crappy job that's only paying me $10 an hour and will only pay me $10 an hour for the rest of my life. When you have the qualifications to get another $10 an hour job, but the other $10 an hour job actually has the ability to move up in the ranks, and so you may make $10 an hour now, but in 5 years you may be making $20 or $25 an hour, right? If you don't take that vacation, if you don't break yourself out of the cycle, all you do is you focus on the now. This job is $10 an hour. Who the hell cares about that job, because that job's $10 an hour? But if you step back, you can go, well, the job I'm in now is $10 an hour now and will be $10 an hour 10 years in the future. The job right over there across the street is $10 an hour now, but it has room for advancement. They try to promote from within. So in 5 years, again, I'll be making $15 or $20 an hour. In 10 years, I could be making a manager, right? And those are the things that you get to think about when you take vacations. So don't scoff at vacations. Don't laugh at vacations. You need vacations. Again, if I was president of USA, I would require 2 weeks of vacation for every man, woman, and child in this country. And to get away, not just like your vacation and you go home and play your PlayStation 4, but that you go and you get on a plane and you go to Florida or you go to Hawaii or you go to the mountains, you get somewhere else, get entirely out of your environment so you can reassess your environment. Again, that's one of the reasons successful people remain successful, is because they continually get out of their environment so they can reassess, and then they can come back in and they can attack the appropriate problems, not simply fix whatever what seems to be the problem that they should deal with.